Welcome to Easy English with Tirban. Today we are going to read American athlete Jesse Owens' memoir, My Greatest Olympic Prize. Who is Jesse Owens? Jesse Owens was an American track and field athlete who won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Berlin Olympic Games. His long jump record stood for 25 years. He is also known as the Buckeye Bullet. He was an American track and field athlete and he won four gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. Owens' athletic career began in the high school when he won 3 track and field events at the 1933 National Interscholastic Championships. 2 years later, while competing for Ohio State University, he equaled one world record and broke 3 others before qualifying and competing in the 1936 Olympics. He was the son of a sharecropper and the grandson of a slave. Owens was a frail child who was often sick from battles with chronic bronchial congestion and pneumonia. Look at his life. He was the grandson of a slave, those African American people who were tortured by their European masters and they were made slaves. Owen is their descendant and he goes on to represent the United States of America. It tells something about his struggles in life and his success. Okay, without wasting further time, we must read the text carefully. Let's go to the text. My greatest Olympic prize. It was the summer of 1936. The Olympic Games were being held in Berlin because Adolf Hitler childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master race. Nationalistic feelings were at an all-time high. So it was summer of 1936 and Olympic was being held. What is Olympic? Olympic is the greatest sporting event of our planet. It happens at a gap of 4 years. In 1936, the Olympic was being held in Germany, and Adolf Hitler, the then dictator, the then ruler of Germany, insisted that the Olympic events must be held at Berlin. Berlin was the capital of Germany. Berlin is still now the capital of Germany. So, who was Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler was a dictator. He was a madman. He was lunatic. He believed in ethnic cleansing. He believed in genocide. Genocide means killing a race of people, killing a group of people, killing millions of people because Hitler thought they were of an inferior race. He didn't like other people than Germans. He thought that Germans were the most superior race and the German were the descendants of the Aryans, one true master race, and everyone else is a slave to them. Everyone else must be a slave to them. Jews. Do you know the Jews? Jews are a group of people who originated from Israel. He killed millions of Jews who resided in Germany because he thought that Jews were not humans. Jews were animals, soulless beings. Worse than animals, in fact, soulless beings. So everybody hated Hitler. Everybody around the world hated Hitler. But he was the hero of Germany. He was the one true savior of Germany who will guide Germany to their redemption and he will make Germany proud. Okay, so Hitler has insisted that the Olympic Games of 1936 are going to be held at Berlin. Now Jesse Owens is saying, I wasn't too worried about all this. I had trained, sweated and disciplined myself for 6 years with the games in mind. He had the Olympic Games in mind. He has trained himself. He had trained himself for past 6 years. While I was going over on the boat, all I could think about was taking home one or two of those gold medals. I had my eye especially on the running board jump. A year before, as a sophomore at Ohio State University, I had set the world's record of 26 feet 8 and a quarter inches. Everyone kind of expected me to win the Olympic event hands down. Jesse Owens only wanted one thing. He wanted to win gold medals. And a year before, at Ohio State University, he set the world's record of running board jump, and he was planning to take the gold medal on that event in Berlin. I was in for a surprise when the time came for the board jump trials. I was startled to see a tall boy hitting the pit at almost 26 feet on his practice leaps. He turned out to be a German named Luz Long. I was told that Hitler had kept him under wraps, evidently hoping to win the jump with him. But Jesse Owens was surprised. When he arrived at the training, he saw a German boy whose name was Luz Long, who was taking leaps of 26 feet, and it was his practice. So imagine how fantastic it would be to see him in the finals. He will surely win the gold, and he was the secret weapon of Hitler. Hitler wanted to win that event with Luz Long. Okay, let's go to the next page. I guessed that if Long won, it would add some new support to the Nazi Aryan supremacy theory. Jesse Owens thought, if Long won, if Luz Long won the event, Hitler will be proud. Hitler will say to everyone that, see, we are the most superior race. Everyone else is inferior to us. It would support the Nazi Aryan superiority theory. After all, I am a Negro, a little hot under the collar about Hitler's ways. I determined to go out there and really show Der Führer and his master race who was superior and who wasn't. And Jesse Owens was a Negro. He was an African American man. He had a black skin, and people of Africa had suffered torture for their black skins for ages. Europeans had tortured them. Europeans had taken them for slaves. They unleashed vicious, ruthless torture upon them. So it was, it would be an extra pleasure for Hitler to see Jesse Owens lose, and Jesse wasn't going to lose. Jesse was going to show who was superior and who wasn't. An angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistakes, as any coach will tell you. But the coaches tell you that angry athlete, an angry competitor, is the one who makes mistakes. I was no exception. On the first day of my 3 qualifying jumps, I leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a foul. On the second jump, I fouled even worse. So he was angry and he made mistakes. On the practice leaps, he was making fouls after fouls. What is a foul? Foul is when an athlete breaks the rule of a game. See, if you know the rules of cricket, you know that if a bowler steps outside the crease while bowling, the ball is considered as a no ball. And Jesse Owens, he was supposed to jump from a line, and he leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board. There was a board. There was a wooden board. An athlete has to come running and jump off that wooden board into the water. But Jesse Owens did wrong. He crossed the line which he shouldn't have crossed. So, did I come 3,000 miles for this? I thought bitterly. To foul out of trials and make a fool of myself? I thought bitterly. This is why I came here. Why have I come here? To make mistakes, to foul out of the trials and make a fool of myself. If Jesse thought that if he kept repeating those mistakes, he wouldn't be able to perform in the finals, he would be out in the trials, and everyone will laugh at him, and the fellow Americans will be ashamed of him. Next page. Walking a few yards from the pit, I kicked disgustedly at the dirt. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to look into the friendly blue eyes of a tall German broad jumper. He was easily qualified for the finals on his first attempt. He offered me a firm handshake. So he was angry, he was disappointed. So he was upset. Jesse Owens was upset. Then someone put a hand on his shoulder. He saw a friendly face. He saw a German face, and his eyes and face showed that he is willing to help. And he offered him a firm handshake, a strong handshake. Jesse Owens, I am Luz Long. I don't think we have met. He spoke English well, though with a German twist to it. Glad to meet you, I said. Then, trying to hide my nervousness, I added, How are you? I am fine. The question is, how are you? What do you mean? I asked. Something must be eating you, he said. It means something must be troubling you. Proud the way the foreigners are when they have mastered a bit of American slang. You should be able to qualify with your eyes closed. Luz Long said to Jesse Owens that I know something is giving you trouble. Something must be eating you. Eating you is an American slang for being worried. You should be able to qualify with your eyes closed. With your capability, with your capacity, it shouldn't be trouble for you. You can qualify the event with closed eyes. Believe me, I know it, I told him. And it felt good to say that to someone. And it felt good to say what Jesse was feeling in his mind right then. So Jesse will be competing with Luz Long, and Luz Long is here giving Jesse some friendly advices. He is standing by Jesse in the hard times. Next page. For the next few minutes we walked together. I didn't tell Long what was eating me, but he seemed to understand my anger, and he took pains to reassure me. Although he had been schooled in the Nazi youth movement, he didn't believe in the Aryan supremacy business any more than I did. So they were walking together, but Jesse Owens didn't tell him what was bothering him. And he assured him, when Luz Long understood Jesse Owens' anger, he assured him that this is not going to happen. He is not going to fail. He had been schooled in Nazi youth movement. You know what is Nazi youth movement? Nazi youth movement is a kind of brainwash machine. They would take young school-going boys under the wings of Nazi party, Hitler's Nazi party, and they would teach them that all the wrong things in the world, that Aryan supremacy, Germans are the best, everyone must be killed. They brainwashed young boys. Luz Long was schooled in those Nazi youth movement, but he didn't believe in any of those scandalous things, in any of those atrocious things. He didn't believe. We laughed about the fact that he really looked the part though, an inch tall. We laughed over the fact that he really looked the part though, an inch taller than I. He had a lean, muscular frame, clear blue eyes, blonde hair, and a strikingly handsome chiseled face. Finally, seeing that I had calmed down somewhat, he pointed to the takeoff board. Finally, when he saw that he had calmed down, he pointed to the takeoff board. Look, he said, why don't you draw a line a few inches in the back of board and aim at making your takeoff from there? Luz Long gave Jesse an advice. Jesse was making fouls. Jesse was doing fouls. He was doing foul jumps. He was crossing the line. So Luz Long advised that Jesse should draw a line a few inches behind the main line. Okay. You will be sure not to foul, and you certainly ought to jump far enough to qualify. What does it matter if you are not first in the trials? Tomorrow is what counts. It doesn't matter that if you come first in the trials, this is not the main event. All you need to do is to qualify the trials, and then when the main event comes, you can erase that line and return back to your usual self. Suddenly, all the tension seemed to ebb out of my body as the truth of what he said hit me. Confidently, I drew a line a full foot in back of the board and proceeded to jump from there. I qualified with almost a foot to spare. So what did Jesse do? Jesse followed what Luz had said to him. He drew a line a full foot behind the main line of the board and he qualified easily. All his tension vanished. That night he walked over to Luz Long's room in the Olympic Village to thank him. I knew that if it hadn't been for him, I probably wouldn't be jumping in the finals the following day. Jesse had a feeling in his heart that if it wasn't for Luz, he wouldn't be taking part in the final event the following day. We sat in the quarters and talked for 2 hours about track and field, ourselves, the world situation, a dozen other things. So the competitors have become good friends. One of them has helped the other out of a problem, and now they are sitting together and discussing various things. Next, when I finally got up to leave, we both knew that a real friendship had been formed. Luz would go out to the field the next day trying to beat me if he could, but I knew that he wanted me to do my best, even if that meant my winning. As I turned out, Luz broke his own past record. In doing so, he pushed me onto a peak performance. So when finally Jesse got up to leave, they both knew that a lasting friendship had been made. Next day, Luz was going to try to do anything to beat Jesse because they are professional athletes. They are friends. They are friends outside the field, inside the track, inside the stadium. They are competitors. They are representing their countries and they would give their 100% to win. As it turned out, Luz broke his past record. Luz was an excellent athlete. He broke his own past record. In doing so, he pushed me onto a peak performance. If Luz had done extremely well, Jesse would have to do more well to beat him. This is natural. If your friend has scored 95 in maths, and if you want to beat him, you will have to score 96. That is natural law. Next, I remember that at the instant I landed from my final jump, the one which set the Olympic record of 26 feet 5.5 inches, he was at my side congratulating me, despite the fact that Hitler glared at us from the stands not 100 yards away. Luz shook my hand hard, and it wasn't a fake smile with a broken heart sort of grip either. And when Jesse won, Luz came over to him and congratulated him, and he gave him a friendly handshake. He knew that Hitler was staring at them. He was glaring at them. He was looking at them intensely. He was burning inside because he had lost to the United States of America. Germany had lost to the United States of America in that event, and Hitler was angry. But Luz didn't care. He congratulated his friend with a handshake, with a smile, and that wasn't a fake smile with a broken heart sort of grip. Luz really meant it. Luz really meant it. He was really happy for his friend. So let's see what Jesse Owens says in the end. You can melt down all the gold medals and cups I have, and they couldn't be a plating on the 24-carat friendship I felt for Luz Long at that moment. Jesse Owens says that you can take all my gold medals, you can take all my cups that I have, all that gold, and this cannot be compared with that golden friendship that I had made with Luz and what I felt for him at that moment. I realized then too that Luz was the epitome of what Pierre de Coubertin, founder of the modern Olympic Games, must have had in mind when he said, "The important thing in the Olympic Games is not winning but taking part. The essential thing in life is not conquering but fighting well." Jesse Owens says that he has understood something at that moment. He has got a very valuable life lesson. What? He understood that Luz was the epitome. He was an example. He was the prime example of what Pierre de Coubertin, founder of the modern Olympic Games, must have had in mind when he said. What did Coubertin said? Coubertin was said that the important thing in Olympic Games is not winning but taking part. It is like life. Life is not about winning. It is fighting well. It is fighting well, fight and having respect for our competitors and making friendship with everyone, thinking that everyone in this world is our brothers and sisters and nobody should hate each other. Hitler was a hate monger. Hitler spread hate and fear among people. But we shouldn't do that. We must keep that in mind that everybody is our friend. And we must fight well. We must compete well with them. But winning should not be our goal. It is to fight well. So Jesse Owens taught us a very valuable life lesson. If you focus on fighting well, success will come and people will not think you as enemy. If you brag, if you are too proud to acknowledge anyone else's contribution in your life, people will not like you. They will hate you. But if you stay humble, become friends to everyone else and do what you do best, then no one can stop you. This is Jesse Owens' memoir, My Greatest Olympic Prize. His greatest Olympic prize was friendship with a German boy called Luz Long. If you find this video useful, please like, comment and subscribe to my channel, and you can share it with your friends. And if you have any issues, please text me, please call me. You can call me, you can text me, you can mail me, you can write it on the comment section. And I request you to use a pen and a notebook to put down the important points that I have made. And to get new videos of English literature and language, please keep an eye on my channel. That's all for today. See you in the next class.